Due to copyright compliance, I am unable to send you the presentation. I hope.
So how many participants have joined actually?
Now, till now, 66, sir.
56.
66.
So we will wait for another
Yes,
5 minutes and start. Huh? Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. No problem, sir. No problem.
Or I can start right now. What as you wish. I don't have any problem.
Uh,
So
Whatever you feel good, sir, you do it, sir. It's up to you, sir.
so we can
Up to you.
start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we can start.
Definitely.
Huh? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
I'm going to the presentation mode. Huh? Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Screen is visible.
No, sir. No, sir. Sir, it's heading now. It will take some time, sir.
So if it time, then network issues are there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That I can understand, sir. Sir, can you please close it once and then again share it, sir? Because I feel. Yes, sir.
I'll do that only.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You check now.
Now also it's showing that it's starting to share the content, but it hasn't come yet, sir.
I have to. I try to change the network and then again try. Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I feel there is some network issue, sir. Net connection is slow. Is it visible to other participants? Is the PPT visible to you?
No, sir.
No, na? Yes, yes. Sir.
No.
But the voice is audible, right?
Yes.
Someone, I think, Debolina
Yeah,
told
I'll
that
just try to.
voice is audible, sir, but the PPT is not coming. Sir. having a problem. I feel you'll have to close it once again. I feel, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. No.
Okay. Okay. So now I will try to share. So let it settle. It is taking time to join actually. Under
Okay, sir. Yes.
this again, it has
No
gone
issues, sir.
back.
No issues, sir.
I don't know why.
Network connection problem, I feel, sir.
Again, the connection was gone. I don't know what is happening. This is today. It is giving a trouble.
No problem, sir. No problem, sir. Take your time, sir. No problem with that.
Uh, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Again, it
You
is
are
showing
audible, sir.
join
You are
meeting.
audible, sir.
Let's see. Again, it is showing join meeting, and what happened? I don't know. I will rejoin again.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Some screen problem has come again. Oh. Oh, now it is okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Hello. So I'm getting
Yes, sir.
some
Yes.
echo.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Are
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
are you getting any echo?
No, sir. No, sir. Means from my side, I'm not getting any echo, sir. But there might be some echo in your side, sir. Or you can do one thing, sir. Sir, you can send me the PPT.
No, no, no.
Okay, okay, okay.
I'm getting echo. Total
Now
problem
it's
has.
correct, sir. Now it's okay, sir. Now it's okay. PPT is showing, sir.
Hello.
participants, there is some network issue. Okay, so please bear with us. I'll be joining us very shortly.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your voice is coming, sir. Yes, sir.
Voice
Now
is
we
coming.
have.
Voice is
Yes, sir.
coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now the
Okay. Okay.
picture is also coming, sir.
So I'm trying to share.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I have to open it up. Okay. Sharing is a problem actually. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just a
Your
minute.
screen is coming actually.
Screen is coming, na?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Previous screen was coming, sir.
Now it
Yes,
has
sir.
come.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Perfectly okay,
Okay.
sir. Sir,
Okay. Okay.
if you can do, sir, in the slide mode, if it is possible, sir.
Is
Yes,
it
yes,
okay?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Perfectly
Okay.
okay, sir. Perfectly.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you for bearing
it,
so much problem for us, sir.
no, no. It is very difficult to operate in remote mode. Sometimes it is
Yes, sir. Yes.
okay. So I
Actually,
go to that
online this
place.
problem comes.
Okay. Okay. So now we'll begin session 2 here. Now, good morning to all of you. So sorry for the initial disturbance what we had due to network problem. So we were discussing regarding the converter issues. Means actually, first of all, the DC to DC converters, which convert the battery voltage to a little higher voltage, not little higher. It is a much higher voltage, say around 3 to 4 times around the battery voltage in order to make it suitable to drive a motor, because the DC bus voltage needs to be according to the motor voltage rating. Otherwise, you cannot have an inverter to operate at full voltage to the operating to the motor, right? So then the few topologies we have discussed regarding boost and then ZVS, ZCS boosting. And then other one is actually this one we stopped yesterday from here, this full bridge boosting. Now here we have the advantage of having a little larger ratio of boosting, because you see not only it is the boost tech topology that is operated with the L and then this capacitor, sorry, this the switches Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, but also we have a coupling transformer, isolated coupling transformer. So that transformer, with the help of higher transformation ratio, so we can boost the voltage. Now here the advantage is that we can drive higher rated motor drives, higher rated motors, like say 30 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt, like that. Because those motors, if designed at lower voltage, right, say 110 volts or even less, so then the current rating becomes very large. So it is very difficult to operate those switches at very high current. So we should find out an optimum situation where the voltage is a little bit lifted up and the current is reduced, so that, I mean, the device characteristics or the device capability can make it suitable for the motor drive system. So there we get a ratio of about 6 to 6.5, even little more, because we can easily have 3 times the ratio here, and again 3 times the boosting, so and 8 to 9 times, so we get. So this is the topology that is used mostly these days for higher rated drive systems in, say, cars and buses, like that. But this is the basic topology, for which there are certain improvements. Now, first improvement, it is not applicable for high kilowatt. Now in the above case, actually, the devices were not switched at very high frequency range, as because the switching losses become very large. Now to reduce switching losses, we should have some criteria of, say, zero voltage or zero current switching, soft switching techniques, you can say. But these converters are for hard switching. So therefore, switching frequency is restricted, and as a result, it can become a little bit bulkier. So the size of L and C, and then the transformer becomes larger. But okay, for big drive systems, we can have spaces. But for smaller drive systems, we can have this type of topology, where we have ZVS switching for the switches Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. These capacitors C1, C2, C3, and C4 help them to operate under ZVS mode. And it is, of course, as we said, that any soft switching technique is difficult to apply for higher voltages, because if there is any drift of the values of the inductances and capacitances, because which is highly highly, you can say, operative. We cannot assume that the capacitance will remain unaltered over the entire operation, or over the entire lifetime of the converter, because there are degradation in the dielectric materials. Similarly, the inductances, they are having usually iron cores. Now the iron core, under say, it can operate under saturation, under abnormal situations. So therefore, the inductance values also can change. So therefore, the switching that takes place, that cannot be at that expected, say, zero voltage level. Now, if it shifts to zero voltage level and we are still operating at higher frequencies, the switches actually will be destroyed. So therefore, actually, these soft switching techniques are not usually applied for very high rated devices, or for high rated applications. So this is not suitable for power above 10 kilowatt, medium sized or lower sized, below 10 kilowatt rating. But okay, this is very useful system. Now you see, this is the practical system what we have in drives, but in boosting of the DC voltages for the drive system, drive train, you can say. Now here we have actually a multi-port combination. Now in the first configuration, when I showed you, I showed that there are two sources. One is actually the rectified DC source, and rectified means actually from the supply system, rectifier, and then charger, and it's charging the battery. So battery source. So it becomes the major source. Now another source I showed, there is a supercapacitor source. Now that source was actually responsible for supplying peak powers, high transient powers, or even absorbing high transient powers, so that the balance can be reached on the DC bus. So DC bus voltage should not fluctuate too much. If it fluctuates, actually, it affects the inverter voltage, right? Inverter voltage, and it creates voltage spikes. And that spikes can do two harms. First of all, it can do harm to the device. You can say, harm to the device. And the second one, actually, it can cause harm to the machine life. And third one is that due to uneven torque, there can be a torque ripple. Now that is sensed by discomfort level of the rider. Okay. So therefore, DC bus stabilization is a major issue these days for say this kind of, say, multi-source drive system. Now, if you see this supercapacitor, and they're coupled in this way. Now here you see a transformer coupling. Now we have same topologies of say isolated DC-DC converters, what we showed in the earlier one. Now the first, the top one is from the battery and it transfers power to the output. Now this output actually has been, instead of a diode, it has been designed with the help of another 4 switches. Now these helps to operate this converter in bidirectional mode. So the diodes, they cannot operate in bidirectional mode. So they are actually rectifier. That means they are unidirectional device by nature. But here these switches T1, T2, T3, and T4 that can be operated in such a way that if there is a need that the DC bus voltage is rising due to the regenerative braking of the electric motor, which is actually effective through the inverter. So now when DC bus voltage rises, this T1, T2, T3, T4 can be switched in such a way that it operates as a source. Now power can be transferred from the right side inverter to the back. And in the back side, you can say any of these converters or both of these converters can operate in bidirectional mode, so that actually it can absorb power. So usually the supercapacitors absorb the high transients and the batteries absorb the slow transients. So that can be made effective, or that can be possible with the help of a suitable controller. So this advantage is that it has a bidirectional operation, as well as it's a multi-port system. It can be easily combined. It has an isolation. It can be operated at medium to high frequency, medium frequencies, you can say of the order of 20 kilohertz, 15 kilohertz, like that. Now, and it can be operated at high rating, say around 30 kilowatt, 40 kilowatt. So these are mostly suitable topologies for high rated electric motor drive system, suitable for electric buses, suitable for cars, taxis, etc. So now another situation which is actually also bidirectional and but non-isolated. Now non-isolated, actually, as you see here, the transformation I'm from data. So if it comes, sometimes there is a breakage in the communication. So is it okay? So my voice is audible to you, or everything is okay? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everything is okay, sir. Now it's okay, sir. Now it's okay.
Okay. So now you see that this type of topology, this has got, instead of this earlier one actually the boost level is actually say 8 to 9 times, as I have said. Now here the boost level is little bit lower, say 3 to 4 times or so. But the thing is that here we have another option, that is, it is a multi-device interleaved bidirectional converter. Now here we have a fault tolerant capability. How? Now see the top and the bottom both. Say the LA, the LB, the inductor LB. I'm showing through arrow. I don't know whether it is reaching you or not. So this LB is connected to both the legs, joining Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Similarly, the lower bottom one is also connected to 2 legs, that is Q5, Q6, Q7, Q8. Now the beauty of this scheme is that supposing some of the device is getting say faulty. Now one leg can be isolated. So this can operate. Say Q3 is faulty, right? So Q3, Q4 leg can be easily taken out of switching. That means it can operate under open circuit mode, and then actually Q1, Q2 can still operate, so that this battery, that capacity of the converter does not reduce. Similar is the situation for any of them. Like say Q5, Q6, or Q7, Q8, like that. So by mistake, actually, both the converters are marked as Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. This is for similarity. This is I mean, a copy-paste problem, but otherwise, you see that the devices can count, the device names can start from Q9, Q10, Q11, Q12 for the bottom one, and Q13, Q14, Q15, and Q16 for the bottom right one. Okay, so this has got fault tolerant capability, and at the same time, bidirectional mode can be also possible with the help of this 4 switches, and then 4 switches are of each say interleaving inductors. So this can be also operated over a range of say around 30 kilowatt, 25 kilowatt, like that, provided the motor current rating can be increased. And also you can see that the current sharing also can take place between say Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 legs. So if you switch on both, there will be current sharing. So that difficulty of having say non-isolated system having lower conversion, lower stepping up ratio, so can be taken care of by the current sharing of the devices. So current sharing also can be done. At the same time, it can operate under faulty situations also. The fault tolerant operation is possible. So these are the widely used topologies, and mostly research topologies I'm talking about. So you can think of, I mean, modifying this, or even improving this, or even doing something which gives better things. So now actually DC to DC conversions I have almost finished. Okay, so there can be various other techniques which emerges out from any of these techniques. There can be a slight modification. I am telling you, there are hundreds of modified topologies. A small problem can be overcome by having some other small modifications. So that are actually getting the research topics these days. So you can find out hundreds of papers searching for this improvement on this say DC to DC conversion topologies for the vehicular applications. So now I will go for the inverter control very briefly inverter control, because you know the inverters are mainly say 2-level inverters these days. Inverters are mainly 2-level. Unfortunately I could not put in the 2-level inverter topologies here, but it is well known. So I thought it is well known. So whatever it is a little bit say new or things that I will discuss. So 2-level inverter topologies are normally used. They have various advantages. They are rugged, and they are easily controllable, and their PWM systems are well established, and then the programming of the this microcontrollers are easier for them. So all these things make it actually convenient to use this 2-level converters. But nowadays, you know, multi-level inverters are getting importance day by day because of several advantages. So the major advantage is that I was talking about the improvement of the say stepping up of the DC bus voltages, right? DC bus voltage, and it is becoming difficult simply because there are various topologies of high boosting and all. They have to be made, and they need a lot of switching of the initial converters, DC-DC converters, and that can make the reliability issues a little bit worse, because when we go for high level switching or high frequency switching, so normally the chances of failures are larger. Okay, the mean time between failures, MTBF, actually reduces for the converters. Okay, so therefore actually the trend is nowadays, so even if we cannot boost, so we can use small batteries of smaller ratings, and we can integrate them to operate at higher voltage with the help of multi-level inverters. Okay, so there are various topologies that are available, but out of which the most reliable topology is the cascaded MLI that has been shown here, cascaded MLI, right? Now now actually you see the voltage waveform, that also you are well known. So here the advantage is that now you see that we are switching for the DC to DC converters. Supposing we are not using multi-level inverters and then using two-level only. So what is our aim practically? Our aim is to operate at high DC bus voltage, and there we require a lot of switching, lot of topologies, lot of inductors for zero voltage, lot of capacitors for zero currents, etc. Zero voltage, zero currents, etc. So actually, and then in the second issue, that when we operate under two-level condition, so the inverters has also to be switched at high frequency in order to eliminate the harmonics. Supposing we are not switching inverters at high frequencies, so what is going to happen? The frequency that harmonics are going to get impressed in the machine, and that will not only create some ripple torque but also increase the losses in the machine. Okay, so whenever there is a higher losses in the machine, so the machine failure rate also can increase. Not only that, we lose efficiency, we lose the costly power that we charge that we could charge the battery, through which we charge the battery. Say we may take it from a source, any conventional source like grid or even non-conventional source. But the other hand, when the motor efficiency reduces, right, that balance one, that means that lost power is emitted as heat or is resulted as heat inside the motor, and that results in temperature rise. That reduces the machine life. So we lose everything, right? So then the issue is that if we do not go for high frequency switching for these inverters or even the converters, so we can operate the sources at lower voltages. Just a minute. My network is also diminishing. Okay, so is it okay? Audible? So now we see that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you see that if then this say we don't go for high frequency switching for the DC to DC conversion, we land up in generating say low voltage sources, and then we integrate them in terms of say multi-level converters. Then the beauty of the converter is that even if we go for very small level switching, we land up in a voltage waveform like this. Now, if you go for any say FFT analysis or Fourier transform of this waveform, you will find the harmonics are automatically most of the lower order harmonics are automatically eliminated. Further, we can adopt with some say SHPWM technique or SHE technique, selected harmonic elimination technique, to operate them at switching angles, which reduces various lower order harmonics. So then this has got high advantage. So the usage is this. Now, now this is the practical configuration of say this cascaded multi-level converter. Now this is, we have got a charging option. We have got even charging option through the inverters itself, and discharging option through the motor. Right. So we can have a changeover switch. Now when charged, the switch can be switched on, and then when it is operating on the motor, it will be operating like this. Well, like the upper switch is on, and when the lower switch is on, so the motor circuit is disconnected, and the small inverters actually they can operate as converters to charge the batteries. That means they can operate under bidirectional mode. So these are the techniques that are being followed. These are the research areas that are being followed these days. Now some comparison of efficiency, as because we are going in for lower switching frequencies with the multi levels and then the DC converters. So the overall efficiency is highly increased with multi-level converter. Now a typical comparison you see that with the help of back-to-back multi-level converters, now there are actually another topologies instead of having this two changeover switches. So we can have back-to-back topologies of multi-level converter, one for charging, one for discharging. So that I have not shown, but okay, you can have you can search papers and find out. But actually here you see that comparison of efficiencies, the best efficiency we get with the help of say multi-level converters is around 97%, 97%, but we cannot reach above 95% with the help of commercial PWM inverter. So 95% is actually is optimistic actually for lower lower ratings below 30 kilowatt. 90%, 88% is very common, I'm telling you. And if you go for multi-level or even lower rating, you can reach 95% easily, 94, 95% easily. So actually that we gain actually in this regard that we can increase the efficiency. So efficiency, as I'm telling, it is not only the loss of power, but also it is the safety of the equipment that is of importance. Okay, so then I end up here, and I will go for some specific topics, say control of BLDC motors, because we worked in some project, and there are also some of our findings I will show you, and then the basics of BLDC motor drive. So nowadays a lot of emphasis has been taken for BLDC motor drives, because you see the number of cars under low power range is much more compared to number of cars of high power range. So there are two levels of research that are going on. One is for high power level that are specific and actually lower in numbers. But another one is that finding out some solutions that are cheaper in nature and that are reliable in nature and that are safe in nature, you can say, and with eliminating the general problems. So for the smaller rated machines, and their numbers are more. Okay, so one of the funded projects we got from Government of India, from there we started. But anyway, I will discuss the different thing. Control of BLDC motors. Now these are general. What is a BLDC motor and how it operates with Hall sensors. Now Hall sensors. Now we go to the basic diagram of say sensor control and sensorless control. Sensor and sensorless. So sensorless means actually it is actually speed sensorless. Speed sensorless, you know. That otherwise voltage and current sensors, they should be always there. But the problem is that when you want to have a speed sensor, it has to be mounted in the motor shaft, isn't it? It has to be mounted in the motor shaft. And if you see a bike, I have shown you, I had already shown you. So the bike is having a hub motor. So there is hardly any space to mount a sensor there. Even if there is a space, so it can cause hindrance. I mean, when a bike moves within a crowded place, so there is every chance that there is some say collision with the sensor. First of all, secondly, the sensor has to be sensed. Speed has to be brought to the controller through some wires. So wire snapping is always an issue, and noise pickup, right? So then actually, whenever you have a censored one, so all these problems will arise. And when you don't have a speed sensor, those problems will get eliminated. But the thing is that you have to find out the speed, estimate the speed. But voltage and current sensing, you see, it can be done at the converter end. We need not have to sense the voltage and the current at the motor terminals, because it is a series connection. So you see that you sense the current at the converter point, just converter outgoing point, the current will be same as the motor terminal current. but voltage will slightly differ because of the wire impedance, but that wire impedance is usually very small. You can easily neglect for any practical applications, right? So then censored one is that you're having a Hall sensor that I am saying, and the sensed pulses are coming to the microcontroller, and then that based on that that sensed pulses, the drivers can be arranged for both the rectifier and the inverters. Okay, operating for the BLDC motor. But for sensorless, you have to sense the speed. Normally, speed is not sensed. I'm telling you, for the BLDC drives, speed is not sensed. Even the Hall sensor senses the back EMF zero crossing points. Back EMF zero crossing points. Now, the zero crossing points, you see, that can be easily detected at the say converter end or at the inverter end. Now, there are similar controls, so zero crossing detectors, and then coming to the microcontroller, and it gives you the pulses based on the speed command and the DC bus voltage and everything. So everything is not shown here. It's a simple block diagram. So now clearly, if you see that this drive system, so any drive system, as I'm telling you, any drive systems for vehicular motors, they are subjected to subjected to some transient currents always, because always there is a braking, there is an acceleration that can take place in a vehicular drive system. So free running is usually less. Okay, so therefore, one of the major problem is that the torque ripple problem. Torque ripple. That means if there is a current transient, then naturally voltage transient will be there in order to mitigate that current transient. So the voltage transient and multiplied by current transient will give you a power transient to the machine. Now power transient gives you the torque transient. Now torque transient results in torque ripple. So what will happen? The rider will feel jerks. So usually a majority of the research, almost 60% of the researches, that were concentrated towards torque ripple minimization for this small BLDC motor drives. Again, BLDC motor drives have got some inherent problem, like as I have told you at the beginning, that its EMF waveform is not sinusoidal. Its EMF waveform is actually trapezoidal. So it has got natural, transient tendency. And secondly, you see that as we said that it is a brushless DC motor. So naturally there is a commutation. DC motor means it requires commutations. The commutation means nothing. Changeover of current from one phase to the other or one device to the other. Now, whenever there is a changeover of current, so the electronic commutation, we call it as electronic commutation takes place, and the changeover of current is not smooth. It depends on various conditions that will be discussed slowly right now. So then this changeover of current is not smooth, so naturally a torque transient can appear, right? So that is what we said, that it is desirable to minimize the torque ripple in brushless DC motor drive, since it may result in unacceptable speed ripple, vibration, and acoustic noise. Okay, so these are the issues for this converter drives. So ideally, BLDC motor is a trapezoidal back EMF motor that I am saying, and its amplitude is 120 degree. It is fixed, and then this 60 degrees, it is actually under transient going down, and then will produce a ripple-free torque unless and until we have a smooth transition. Okay, so there is a commutation of 6 times per cycle. That means at each 60 degrees, we have a changeover of device currents and transitions. So this can be visible from this waveform. So you see that the top is the back EMF waveform along with the Hall sensor voltages. So this is the R phase voltages or R phase pulses that we achieve from Hall sensors, And from there, we can easily get actually that we can easily get the zero crossings. But zero crossings will not help you, because the current changeover you see at the bottom, that red phase, that this is actually the line EMF. Line EMF has been shown ERY, but the phase EMFs are here, ER are here. So you see that the red phase EMF and the red phase current. So red phase current starts from here and then ends up here, right? And then again in the reverse direction it is here. So now you have then the Y phase you see is starting from here, right? Y phase at the bottom. So now the changeover is starting from R phase down to Y phase up, right? So naturally this is at the zero crossing of the line voltages, zero crossing of the line EMFs rather. So that are to be smoothly sensed, right? That are to be smoothly sensed in order to have actual say switching or proper switching of the devices, right? So then if you multiply, if everything is proper, now that red phase waveforms are like this, Y phase like this, and B phase like this. So the power is given ER, IR plus EY, IY plus EB, IB. And you see that when IR, IB, IY 0, so power will be 0, but ER, IR will exist. From here, EY, IY will exist. And from here onwards, EB, IB will exist. Now, everything is proper. So, sum total of ER, EY, EB, ER, EY, IY, and EB, IB will be a DC value. And then the torque divided by omega, that will give you a steady torque. But if there is any mismatch from here, so you feel a torque ripple. Unfortunately, I could not incorporate one torque ripple diagram here. Again, some phone call. Hello. ঠিক আছে, আমি দুটোই পাঠিয়ে দেবো আজকে সন্ধ্যেবেলা। হ্যাঁ, আমি এখন একটা লেকচারে আছি, আমি তোমাকে পরে আমি রিপ্লাই করে দেবো। হ্যাঁ, রিপ্লাই করে দেবো, আশা করছি পেয়ে যাবো, আর আমি আজকে পাঠিয়ে দেবো। ঠিক আছে, ওকে ওকে, অলরাইট। So this is the detailed picture. So now you see that the zero crossing points. So when you sense the phase voltages, these are the zero crossing points. So now zero crossing points are not our issue. Our issue is here, where we need the commutation points. I mean the changeover for current from R to Y. So then there is a you can say sensing technique that we have followed. Back EMF waveform departing from the ideal. Now the thing is that in most of the machines you will see, as we have said, that the back EMF waveform is here. So I don't know whether I have put any practical waveform here or not, but I should have had, but I don't know. Actually, you see this back EMF waveform, what we see that this is ideal waveform. This is ideal. Now, usually there is a departure from this ideal waveform in practical cases. Now, whenever it is there, so just sensing the back EMF waveform will not help you to find out the actual commutation instance. Now, if the commutation instance are not known, you cannot switch. You cannot switch the other device. Okay. So this will result in phase current ripple and resulting from commutation events. And this can occur, this can cause for the torque ripples also. So now actually what we did, actually, we use some technique like say back EMF sensing, and you see this back EMF, whenever it is departing from sinusoidal, and if we make it say if we make a Fourier transform of this, you get all odd harmonics present, because it is actually half wave symmetry is there, and both quarter wave and half wave symmetry is there. So all odd harmonics will be there. It becomes an odd function. Now the back EMF can be expressed in terms of this, say E1 I1, E1 sin theta R, E3 sin 3 theta R, E5 sin 5 theta R, etc. So now EB again, this is for A phase. B phase will be actually departing it from by 2 pi by 3. So this is okay. And for C phase also it is like this. Now if you sum them up, you will find EA plus EB plus EC, only actually the third harmonics will remain because they are co-phasal. All fundamental, fifth, seventh, etc. all harmonics except triplen, they are having 120-degree phase difference. And if you sum them up, you get all voltages zero under ideal conditions, and only third harmonics will exist, right? So now this can be approximated like this: EA, EB, EC is approximately 3 sine 3 theta r, right? And why I have written approximately E3? Because E9, the magnitude of E9 is comparatively much lesser compared to 3E3, right? So therefore, we get only third harmonics, right? Now, the third harmonic flux can be easily found out by integrating the V sum, right? So V sum is this, Vn, Vn, Cn, and then we get 3E3. Now, you see the waveform. Now, this integral of E3 gives you the commutation instance. Integral of E3 gives you the commutation instance. So this method actually, instead of, so why I am showing this, so my intention is to that you should think of yourself regarding how to make good solutions, not to take from other literatures. Just now today's research, in 80% cases, we find review papers. We find actually the papers which integrates the ideas of almost 5-6 papers and then make it suitable another paper. So maybe it can be accepted, but you gain nothing. Okay. So maybe in lifetime you do 1 or 2 work. Okay. You do 1 or 2 work or 3 work. But that will be the asset. I mean, that is the contribution towards the technology, right? So that you try. Okay. So these are all things how to think. These are all things how to think about the problems. So that is why I'm showing you a few such things that we have also followed. Now, due to the phase current commutation is to be one of the main drawbacks. So here actually, just by doing that, we can have the zero crossings of this. Now, these will eliminate even majority of the issues, like say the converter waveforms departing, rather EMF waveforms departing from the say trapezoidal. So that we have found. So these are the things. Now later on we found that in some places also they have been using like this. So due to phase current commutation usually considered one of the main drawbacks. Now here, now another issue I'm talking about. Say, let us say these are the currents. So I1, I2, I3. These are the currents, ideal currents that I have shown you. Now, how actually the torque ripple will exist? Now, first I have shown how to sense the zero crossing. Maybe this is one method. There are various other methods existing. You can find in literature, various other methods existing in literature. Okay, so that you can check yourself. So now here we have shown two things: the current and the EMF waveforms in ideal mode, right? Ideal mode. So now the commutation, what I was talking about, is that the changeover of current from one phase to the other. So now I have shown you one diagram which shows that supposing it is operating under, say, the converters can be operated under both the modes, 120-degree and 180-degree. So at 120-degree mode, 2 switches will be on at a time. At 180-degree, 3 switches will be on at a time. So let us consider that 2 switches are on at a time, right? So now, say one such condition we have shown here, where that switch 1, normally we actually nominate the switches like this, or designate the switches like this: 1, 3, 5 in the top and 4, 6, 2 in the bottom. And 1 and 2 are operating. Right? And a changeover is required from 1 to 3. That means phase A is operating, let's say phase A and C, and next is that phase B and C. That means the top switch of second leg will be operative. So before commutation, we have a current path like this, right? So now this is the situation. Now, whenever a changeover takes place from phase A to phase B, so naturally phase A current, we have assumed that as if it is phase A current is negative or phase C current is positive. Just a convention, just a convention. You can assume the other way also. Okay. So by mistake, I have shown you minus I. This is from some other diagram of our paper. But anyway, so let us say it is operating at a current I minus I, and IC was I. Okay, so sum total is 0. That means go and return. So now whenever there is a commutation, so IA current will become 0 and IB current will come back to I, right? So this period of transition, I mean from IA to IB, is the commutation instance or commutation period. Now you see, under this condition, the commutation will take place. So let us say the situations that can arise. Now it can arise in such a way that the current IA or the A phase current can reach to zero, because it has to come down. So whenever it is switched from say A phase to B phase, so A phase current has to become 0, but it is not instantaneous. It is not instantaneous. That is shown, that is quite evident from this picture. Why not instantaneous? Because it is always an inductive circuit, inductive resistive circuit. So now any LR circuit, instantaneous current 0 is not possible, right? So therefore it will take some finite time. So even the rising of current for phase B is not instantaneous, right? So now it can so happen that the current of A phase reaches 0 faster than the B phase current reaches I. So the resultant current IC will look like this, right? So then if you see, if you compute EAIA, EBIB, ECIC within this commutating instance or within this commutating period from this to this TC, so you will get a ripple, you will get an uneven, thing, right? So then this is what is there. So, and the second instant can take place that IA will reach later than IB reaches I. Okay. So there can be two steps, step 1 and step 2. Under step 1, IB has reached I, but IA is not 0, right? So I could have shown you the other diagram, this set of diagram earlier, but anyway, unfortunate. So I apologize for the two types of diagram I saw, but anyway. But so this is also another instance. So IA can reach later than IB is reaching I. Okay. So both these instances or both these conditions will result in torque ripple. Right. So then again, I'll show you the thing before commutation. This is the figure. The same figure I'm repeating. Now this current transfer is done by switching of T1 and switching of T2. So T1 will be switched off and T2 will be switched on. Right, the same thing. Now, after it is switched off and T2 is switched on, the diagram is like this. As I said, that current will not die down, but at the same time, the switch T1 has been switched off, right? Switch T1 has been turned off. So the current path for the A phase will be through the diode. It will be circulating through the diode. So am I clear to you? So this diode, left-hand side bottom diode will conduct, and the farm line will show you the current path. And since another one, so T2 has been switched on, so another path will be for the B phase, and C phase is continuing, right? So the total current path is like this. So you can easily form voltage equations, Kirchhoff's voltage equations, KVL, for all these three loops, and then solve for current IA, IB, and IC, or I1, I2, I3, like that. So, and doing that, we get the slopes like this: di1 dt, di2 dt, di3 dt. It's like this. Okay. So from that, we are getting that di1 dt slope is negative. That means I1 is reducing. So di2 dt, V greater than E always. So actually, it is increasing. and di3 dt is falling within this transient condition whenever the diode is on. Okay. So now from here we can have two cases that I have told. So IA vanishes at the three cases rather. IA vanishes at the same time current IB reaches its final value, right? Now IA vanishes at the same time reaches its final value. I2 reaches it, and this is the smoothest one. So I1 is becoming 0 and I2 is reaching at the same time, and 0 to TF is commutation time. TF is the commutation time. So this is ideal commutation. This is ideal commutation. Now case 2, IA vanishes before current IB reaches its final value. IA vanishes before current IB reaches its final value. So as I have said, next stage is also that of state 4. State 4 I will show you, but this is the situation here. So IA vanishes before current reaches its before I2 reaches its final value. That means IA, we reach at time TF dash where actually I1 is 0, right? But I2 has not reached actually I. So it will take more time up to TF. Now the commutation time is extended. Step 1, step 2. So step 1, say there is one circuit, and for step 2, there is another circuit because there IA is 0. So you can get it done by doing the circuit modifications there, and then solving it for this with the help of KVLs and get the current expressions. Now case 3, the same. IB reaches its value I before current IA vanishes. Now during this instant, we have a different type of thing. Now here you see that I2 has reached value I, right? But till then, I1, rather IA, has not become 0. Now this instance between TF double dash to TF, so all the three paths will be working and all the three diodes will be working. So now this is the situation under that condition, because there, say we have all the diodes conducting, right? So that you have to analyze yourself. So this I have taken one analysis, and we have also done some work on that. Now, all these equations what I have shown here, all these equations what we have shown here, di1 dt, di2 dt, and di3 dt, this assumes that resistance of the windings is 0. Means we assume only the inductance of the coils that are existing, which is impractical in cases, but simplification is very easy to solve the equations and get the idea. Now, actually, doing all these manipulations with, say, equations, and we can solve for currents. And then the stage 4, what I was telling, that this is the steady state where, say, IB has reached its final value and IC is operating. So IB and IC. So this is the final state after commutation, after TF. So now actually, say this is the same things that neglecting, or if I talk too much, so I'll miss out many things. So these are the writings where we say that resistance is considered or not considered. So now after solving all these equations, which I am not showing, you can do it yourself. After solving all these equations, you can find that commutation time TF. This is TF. So this TF, what are we telling? TF is the final time, right? So final time TF under first situation, when actually this the I1 is reaching later, I1 is reaching 0 later. So we get the TF given by Li. Li is the inductance of each, L is the inductance of each coils, Li by V minus 2E. This is, of course, neglecting all the resistances. And the torque ripple, because you see here, you get a torque ripple, right? You get a torque ripple. Unfortunately, the figure is missing, torque ripple figure, but you get a torque ripple here. So the torque ripple expression is given by this V minus 4E by 2 into V minus E in per unit, because these are the ratio of the voltage. Now this Li by V minus 2E is a time, is unit is second. Now see here, so there are various situations. Now if you see here from the delta T equation. Now what is our aim? We want to make delta T or torque ripple to 0. We want to make torque ripple becoming 0. Now the 0 can happen only when V equal to 4E. That means E is V by 4, right? Now if you put E is V by 4, then again you see that E is V by 4, the delta T, so my arrow is missing, my arrow here. If we make V equal to 4E, so my say delta T becomes 0. So this is the ideal situation we want, right? But you see, if you make V equal to E, so then delta T is becoming infinite. V equal to E, delta T is becoming infinite. Now again, you go to the commutation time requirement, TF requirement. Now if we make V equal to 2E, V equal to 2E, right? So this commutation time is infinite. V equal to 2E, although torque ripple is negative, yeah, but commutation time is infinite. So this is also impractical. It will take very high commutation time, which is which you will not commutate at all. Now making V less than 2E, right, will make commutation time negative, which is also impractical. It cannot be commutated. So by some means, so from this equation, we find that V should be greater than 2E. Now what is V? What is E? Now V is your voltage, bus voltage, right? And what is E? Your back EMF. So back EMF represents speed. So it is proportional to speed. So that means actually you see, if you plot delta T versus E by V ratio, E by V means this is the replica of the speed. So at E by V equal to 0.5, so the bottom one is commutation time, right? The TF, the bottom one is TF. So by mistake, so it has not been mentioned. So you see that commutation time at E near 4V, it is reaching a very high value. Sorry, at E by V equal to 0.5, it is reaching near very high value. And at the same time, the torque ripple is also reaching high value of 0.5 per unit in the negative. Negative and positive is not an issue because it is only the magnitude that matters. So then actually we should be operating somewhere near V equal to 4E. V equal to 4E, where we get torque ripple 0 as well as commutation time within some low value. Right? Now V equal to 4E means actually it's a very low speed. So naturally, actually, we have to decide all these things while switching the controllers, while switching the controllers. So it is not so easy, I mean, to design anything. You can have a workable thing, do things, and then it is working. But inside analysis is, I mean, is required. So now you see, then we saw this is the existing one. Then we saw what happens with the help of say resistance taken into account. Now these are all approximate things, as we say that resistance cannot be taken into account for the BLDC motors of lower ratings. As we say, they are mostly applicable for lower rated drives below 3 kilowatt, right? If the inductance is high, but in resistance also will be high because lower rated machines has got say thinner windings and larger turns. So you see that therefore the resistance, winding resistance is quite considerable. Then we saw these procedures, following same procedures, but we tried to make something that we didn't consider that situation of only say 120-degree switching. We analyzed it for even say 3 switching mode, which is 180 degrees. So everything cannot be discussed here. So there we got the expressions for T1, T2. T1, T2 means that what we say here like this, that TF and TF dash, TF and from TF dash to TF, 0 to TF dash, then TF dash to TF. So this is actually T1, T2. So then we got the expressions like this. So the negative signs are actually resulting in due to say our considerations only, say current directions and all. So we take the magnitude, and then the torque ripple is given by like this. So after all this analysis, now see, then we tried to plot. We tried to plot the same thing that is E by V ratio and also the commutation time in 2 pages. So then this is actually, it's written here, it is a courtesy of our research, JUEE. Now we saw that the commutation time, it is reaching higher values at say 120-degree operating mode, a very high value at 120-degree operating mode, when we reach E by V equal to say 0.5. That means V equal to 2E, like that method of neglecting resistances. Right. But when we consider three-level switching, right? Three level means three switching state. Commutation time is staying within certain variations, within certain limited variations. Okay. And then we plotted the torque ripple also. We torque ripple in per unit. Now we saw for 180-degree, that means 3 switching. So it is reducing near 0.5, but actually the torque ripple is lower near for the 2 switching below 0.5. So 0.4 to 0.5, you see, 0.4 to 0.5, the torque ripple is lower. For the 3 switching. Now for 2 switching, actually it is always lower below 0.4. So now what we suggested? We suggested a hybrid mode of switching. Now because even the commutation time is lower for 2 switching below 0.4. So below 0.4 at 2 switching achieved, 2 switching can be operated, and a smooth transition from 2 to 3 can be taken place whenever speed is actually reaching above 0.5. So this is the situations. I mean, why I am showing that, I'm showing you to learn how to think. Okay, so this. Now these are the few diagrams that I will skip. So the last topic, I don't know, at 10 minutes I will cover. 10 minutes I will cover this battery issues. Now, as I said that there are 3 issues for this EV drive system. First of all, the DC to DC converter and the inverter system. Second is the motor. Third one is the battery and its charging. So nowadays a lot of terms are coming. You have also heard like E2V, V2E charging, and then stabilization, and then smoothing of the say load curves, etc., and then stabilization of the microgrid system, smart grid, smart vehicles, then charging through remote and charging wireless charging system, all these things. Now, okay, everything cannot be discussed. I think there are various speakers you have been listening to, and they will be helping you to understand all those things. A few things I could discuss. But another major issue is that battery issues. Now, battery issues are actually mainly maintenance of the batteries, and then estimation of the states of the batteries. That are one of the major issues that are required for the electric vehicular drive system, because we are all dependent on the battery for these vehicular drive systems. See, supposing you start a car or you start a bike, you wrongly estimate the balance charge, because it is for normal fuels like petrol and diesel, they have got weight sensors, so they do not fail, and they are very reliable. So the weight cannot change from today to tomorrow, and as small electronics are there to sense, the weights of the liquids inside the tank, or even there may be level sensors also that that can be done. So, but for the batteries, you have to estimate what is the amount of charge that is remaining in the battery, so that you can drive up to some place and get the charge there and come back, or even go and come back from a place. So the issues are actually, it is not so easy, because the charge estimation, it requires a lot of electronics, lot of sensing devices, accuracy of the sensing devices, etc. So if you wrongly predict this, so your entire journey is lost. The entire journey is at stake. So therefore, this is on battery health monitoring situation also. Means whether the battery is going to last, or the discharge up to when, up to how much time. So it's with aging, actually, you are starting with 90% charge, and if it's an aged battery, so charge rate can be very fast, and within 10 kilometers you can lose all the charge. Now, if battery is so have more than 50 kilometers of ride with that estimation of trees and the estimation of the so a lot of research has been conducted these days on this. So just I'll quickly in 5 minutes I'll quickly tell you something regarding this. I'll skip many things which I thought, but anyway, the state of charge. So the battery condition, if you see the battery estimation, battery state estimation, that has 3 states that I was talking about. One is state of charge or depth of discharge. That means SOC, it's the term, or DOD, the term you have heard of many times in life, or many times in your say recent research work. So this is one of the major issues. And then state of health, as I was talking about, what is the condition of the batteries, and then state of function. So overall, I mean, this combines both the state of charge and the state of health. Now, SOCs or DODs or batteries are estimated according to conditions. That means you can say working current, temperature. So it is not that you can operate say offline mode. So you just doing you estimate SOC, and you don't know what is the charge which is getting discharged after you take a ride, right? So then the SOC and DOD, they are mainly estimated under online conditions, SOC or DOD. That means you have to have some online monitoring systems, right? But state of health and state of function, they can be monitored offline, say when it is under rest, you can monitor it, but even online monitoring also can sometimes help. So the researchers are, a lot of researchers are on this, say algorithms, developing algorithms for this health estimations or state estimations of now. Oh, sorry, again a phone call has come. Just a minute. Hello. Hello. হ্যাঁ 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 ভালো আছি। আমি তো একটা ওদেরই লেকচারে আছি এখন। হ্যাঁ 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 বলুন বলুন বলুন। আচ্ছা ঠিক। হ্যাঁ আচ্ছা আমি দেখে নিচ্ছি, তাহলে আমি একটু পরে ফোন করছি, আমাকে আপনার হাফ অ্যান আওয়ার আপনাকে। হ্যাঁ আমি দেখে বলছি। হ্যাঁ না না আমি আগে দেখে নি পেয়েছি কিনা, দেখে আমি আপনাকে বলবো। হ্যাঁ ওকে। জিমেলে আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আমি চেক ইট অ্যান্ড দেন ফোন ইউ ব্যাক। হ্যাঁ আমি ফোন করছি একটু পরে। আমি একটা লেকচারে আছি এখন, 5 মিনিট পরে শেষ হয়ে যাবে, তারপরে আপনি দেখে বলে দেবেন। হ্যাঁ ও ও হ্যালো। হ্যালো।
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, তো অ্যাকচুয়ালি
Yes,
আমার
sir.
মনে হয় I should end up here because see this state of health, this diagram only I'll explain. Then I'll end up. Okay. So then the relationship, as I was talking about, between SOC, SOH, and SOF, that can be easily described by this diagram I show right now. Just a minute. I will just arrange this one. Okay. Okay. So see here, this SOC or state of charge estimation, that requires a sensing of voltage, current, temperature, running time, etc. So there is various algorithms they can be used for sensing SOC. But SOC sensing will require sensing of these four quantities. So unless and until our sensing is accurate, so then our estimation of SOC becomes wrong. So once SOC is estimated, okay, so state of health also can be determined. State of health means actually how the battery is. Therefore, it should be battery conditions. So it should be associated with even SOC. One of them is SOC. The other one is cell temperature. So actually by term we say that how abused the battery is. That means how you are operating the battery under roughest conditions. So that will estimate your state of health. That means if you operate at very high temperature, higher voltages, higher voltage spikes, so naturally your battery life will be reduced. So therefore, all these quantities related to this has to be sensed. Okay. So say network signals are, this is different issue. Then inflammable gas concentration, insulation, then current, voltage. So current spike, voltage spikes, cell temperatures, SOCs. So that will be sensed, and with the help of certain, say, analytical say algorithms. So battery health, or you can say battery state of health can be monitored, and then with the help of that, with additional input of, say, run time, cell temperature, voltage, current, lifetime prediction can take place. So you see inside there is one box showing lifetime prediction, and then the fault limiting. Okay, SOH algorithm. So SOH algorithm will actually consist of this lifetime prediction, fault limiting, and depending on the inputs that is shown here. So now this SOC and SOC limiting, I think limiting operations, and then cell temperature and temperature limiting operations, with this taking the minimum function and then adding up with SOH will give you overall SOF, state of function, total function. And then actually we say out of which we get the battery output power capacity. That means how much output power the battery. Be very complex. I'm not telling you, very simple. And nowadays, if you see the battery conditions, the batteries are shifting to lithium-ion batteries these days, because the initial slide I have shown basically two types of batteries, but nowadays various other research works are going on to develop batteries of having high charge density, or you can say high energy density, high energy to weight ratio. Now you can say that nowadays the most conversant one is lithium-ion batteries. So lithium-ion batteries has got very many variants also, NCM, LiFePO, of course, etc. So it depends on the electrodes. So now you see that that the cells are actually not a single cell; they're having series parallel connections, sensing of the individual voltages, and then doing it. So all these things are there. So then you should think of the type of batteries, and then you think of how to estimate it, SOC, SOH, and SOF. So this will conclude. Here I conclude actually my lecture. So I would request you to have any to get back to me right now if you have any difficulties, or even I will be available in future through, say, internet, and your Professor Chatterjee is there, Santanu. So he can also help you to reach, and then we can have some discussion even. So I can learn from you also. You will be also reading many things. So it is not possible for me to read everything or to implement everything. So I'm concentrating on few small things. But anyway, so my best wishes. So you can get back to me right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for a very nice presentation, sir. Even fun means some of the participants were asking me to request you for another 30 minutes extension, but I told them that sir is busy right now. so, so
No,
over to the participants, please ask questions, sir. Hello.
Hello.
So over to
hello.
the participants, please ask questions to sir.
Hello, sir. May I ask, sir?
Yes, yes.
Obviously.
Yeah. Sir, I'm Dr. Solke from Pune, from Symbiosis. Sir, when you say here, like for the finding of the state of health of the battery, voltage and current. Now, when you say voltage and current, like you mean exactly what? The voltage which has been at that particular moment, or voltage which has been maintained for a duration of some time, and current drawn for a moment. How do you cater for that, sir?
Okay. So this actually see voltage and current means you have to read. So there are algorithms. So I'll give you one such algorithm like this. Here you see this say ampere hour integral algorithm. That means you have to have say recording. Say the charge is what integral of current. So you should do it by some means. But the same thing is voltage and current. So algorithm has to be developed. It is there already, many algorithms, but some newer algorithms are also coming up. So it is not that I sense voltage and current and I can predict this one. Achha, some phone call is coming. Just a minute. Some phone call is coming. এই আমি একটা লেকচারে আছি এখন একটু পরে পরে কথা বলবো হ্যাঁ হ্যালো Hello.
Yes, yes, sir. So
Actually,
someone.
some phone is coming. Actually, I am operating on phone network. So, because
Okay.
my other network was not operating as you see from the beginning, so that is why the disturbance are coming. Okay.
Someone Srilakshmi has asked you a question, sir. So how to measure the SOC in MATLAB? How to measure the state of charge in MATLAB?
MATLAB, actually, you see, these algorithms you have to implement in MATLAB.
Yes, exactly.
So that is what actually. So that is very not very practical, you know. So this is all those are the ideal things you can get, but in MATLAB you can implement all these algorithms that are existing, like say ampere hour, and then voltage discharge test method, and then the other algorithms like say equivalent circuit algorithm, all those things. But these are not practicable. It is best to do it in say with the help of practical circuits that will give you the pleasure actually.
Okay, so to the participants, anyone please ask question to sir, because it's like once in a lifetime moment for you people to hear sir actually. That is very busy with his schedule. So this is the last time you'll. Okay. Anyone? Please. Thank you, sir. Thank you for a very nice session, sir. Yes, please.
So one small question, sir. Might be weird question. What are the projects which can be done from this particular, it's a very interesting topic regarding state of battery charge. So what are the prospects of having the projects and getting funds for this kind of a, project on battery modeling or the life modeling or state of charge or state of health?
That actually, the projects actually you can go straight away to say some improved state of charge estimation method, having better. The exact title I have to think and tell you. So later on I can tell you. But the thing is that only by getting state of charge estimation method related to electric vehicles, you will get project, I think. If you have if you have inside some novel ideas, like this way I will
Okay, sir.
predict that will reduce time. So there are aspects like that. First of all is the accuracy. So you can work for improved accuracy. Second one is that quickness, means how quickly you can estimate, right? So
Okay, sir.
this way you can improve the existing algorithms. So none of the existing algorithms are, you can say, highly accurate and highly quick, and not predicting the SOCs at say even aged batteries. So considering aged batteries is another problem. So estimation of the life cycle of the batteries. So and then based on which all the parameters will change. The parameter drift. So estimation of the parameter drift under aging conditions for estimation of SOCs. So these type of project you can easily get, I think. Nowadays, a lot of drive has been taken, but due to this COVID situation, none are getting, even we are not also getting because of funding, because of this reason. They are always saying that fund crunch is there. So at this moment, we are not considering any projects. So after the situation a little bit normalizes, you can apply for say this type of projects.
Right, right. Thank you very much, sir. So we will can write to you and ask your help in this regard in
No
future.
problem, no problem. You can write to me. I am there always to help you. Huh?
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. Sir. It's a very wonderful
Okay,
lecture
okay.
by you, sir.
Anytime you mail me. Maybe 1 or 2 days delay I will take because of the workload I am having. So, but I will help you. I can tell you. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, anyone from the participant side, any questions regarding the top pulsation or state of charge or whatever has taught? Please, you can ask question. So, regarding the converter topologies also, you can ask. Okay, so sir, thank you, sir. Thank you for your nice lecture. And I feel it was like means full of contents were there, and it was probably the best one again, sir, from your side.
Okay,
Thank you,
okay.
sir.
I will
Thank you
try
for
to do
being
my
with us,
level
sir.
best. But anyway, in
Yes,
future
sir.
also, you keep in touch so that we can
Definitely.
help each other. Working.
Yes,
Okay, okay,
definitely, sir. Thank you, sir.
okay,
Thank you very much, sir.
okay, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I'm taking a leave.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Definitely, sir. Thank you. Very nice presentation. Okay, so dear participants, again, it was a top-notch presentation from sir. I feel again it was like out of all the presentation, it was again the best because it was full of contents, means full of technical contents actually were there, and you can easily form a review paper out of this. I feel so. Okay, so it's a great one. Okay, and probably I will ask that to share the PPT back, but I feel as because the videos are already being uploaded in the YouTube channel. So I feel there is no need of PPTs and all because see, and I have requested Akhtar Kalam sir also, okay, na? But he said that it was under consideration to any other journals actually. I've requested each and every faculties to focus mainly on their research actually, okay, na? So probably each and every faculties are giving their presentation about their present research work, okay, na? So they are so means they are reluctant to share it with the participants actually. But of course, we have the recorded version of the video, okay. Out of I mean, I really don't know how much I'll be able to share the PPT right now. Okay, whatever comes to me, I'll definitely dissipate to you. Fine, na? So 9th, I
Thank
feel,
you, sir.
acha, yes, and on 9th, there is the test session. Probably it is scheduled from 2:30 to 4 o'clock, I feel. 1.5 hour of test session, actually. But as because Professor Esendeepa Madam is having some issues and all, so he has requested me to shift his session, means to shift her session to that particular period and all, because her father has expired and she has to perform some of the rituals actually. Fine, na? So for that reason, she has requested me to shift her session. That means at 8 from I feel it's from 2 to 4. I feel like that. Okay, now so that session will be shifted to 9th from 2:30 to 4 most probably, and the test session will be shifted from 4 to 5 actually. Test come the closing ceremony, everything will be shifted to that time. And as because I am seeing that the participants are very much enthusiastic, okay, and I means I might also take one session of yours actually. Whatever I have in my bag, whatever experience I have in my luggage actually, I want to share it with you all. Okay, so I might also take a 1 hour session of you. I don't know how much interesting it will be. So on 8th, most probably I will try to prepare presentation on whatever work I have done till date, means till your means sorry, till date actually. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Shantanu sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Please.
sir, is it must to have a test? I think we can do the test. We are all attending it. It's interesting thing. Why do I
No,
test?
no,
Instead, you can
that is
do it with it. I think I can save all the
yes,
faculty members, all the participants. Do you really
yes,
require to have a test for us?
Actually, not actually, Dr. Solanki, actually, means see, basically, frankly speaking, as because most of the participants are basically faculty members of different private and government engineering colleges, and moreover, most of them are PhD holders. Okay, na? So they have already cost their PhD. Okay, na? So that's why I also feel, means very personally, I am saying, I also feel that this test and all these things are immaterial. Actually, okay, na? It's basically someone might feel that they might get insulted by this test and all. Okay, na? But actually, in order to generate certificate from the auto, na, you'll have to take at least one formality test actually. Okay, na?
Okay.
So I'm very sorry, sir. I'm very sorry, sir, because you might have attended other auto programs also. Okay, na? So means it's in their curriculum. You'll have to test in order to generate a valid certificate, sir. Okay, now I know that you people are all faculty members. Okay, and you people know better than anyone else actually. Okay, much better than mine itself. Okay, but the thing is that in order to complete the formalities, sir, I will have to take a little bit like a kind of formalities, sir. Okay, no worry about the test. No worry about the test. No worry. Okay, just attend the test, because the test means see because the marks means the question I will have to upload in the auto, na? Okay, but answer script will not be uploaded. Instead, the marks will be uploaded. So I will means try to pass you all. No problem with that. No problem with that. Okay, just try to attend the lectures. Okay, no need to worry about the attendance also. Okay, na? Because I strongly believe that if you people are feeling interested to join this workshop, then only you people join. Okay, na? And I feel till now it has been very interesting. Okay, thank you then. Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir.
And
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Yes, definitely.
Sir, test time 9th evening 4 to 5, sir.
Yes. It will be of 30 means I feel 30 MCQ. Okay, that will be very easy. Yes. And don't worry about the test. Don't really worry about the test. Yeah, I'll help you. No problem with that. Yeah?
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
We all are in research, na, so that's why this test and all, this is not basic. This is not justified actually. But still, we'll have to take it. So please excuse me from that part. Thank you very much. Now, so the next session will start from 2 o'clock. Okay, and the next speaker will be Professor Uma Shankar sir. from King's Hodi University, okay, Riyadh. Okay, so he's having six books published under his belt, and he's having many IEEE transaction paper as well as many other ACI journal publications. Okay, so hopefully you'll also enjoy his lectures also, and he's heading the renewable energy department of Dubai actually. Okay, and he's having more than 100 crores of project under his name actually. So thank you for being with us. Thank you very much.